Naturiaguide here. And for this episode, this is episode 1 of Nature Walk, a walkthrough of Naturia's. And basically, I figured it'd be good to start off with some basic rules that I try to use when I'm playing Naturia's. A few of these are also good for Yu-Gi-Oh! In general, but definitely for Naturia's. So I'll start off. The first one I have is that you need to remember that your bamboo shoot is not your god card. I mean, it's definitely great. Stopping the spells and traps is wonderful, and it helps make the rest of the deck run smoothly. But it's not god, so you need to remember that for when you're playing. Don't base your entire deck around Bamboo Shoot, especially with the way with my deck list. But if they somehow find a way to negate its effect and then Book of Moon it and run it over, and then you're left without a plan, it's gonna look silly. So just keep that in mind. Um, the next one I have is that to remember that this deck is not a beatdown, yet it has potential to be. And the reason I put Dragonfly there is because this could become one of your main beat sticks with its effect. So just remember that. Don't think you're gonna overpower most decks. You're not. You're going to need to rely on your spells and traps and monster effects and the power of the Naturias working together to help you win. With that said, the other rule that I would say is don't expect to win every duel the same way. You might have a duel where you're winning by stopping all their stuff with Bamboo Shoot. Next time you might win because you overpowered them with Dragonfly and they didn't have anything else out. It's going to change depending on the situation, and you just need to make sure you keep that in mind because it's also what makes this deck fun. It doesn't get very boring. It's not very run of the mill. It'll switch every time. Next one, you won't always get to see your monster's effects being used. Best example of this, I would say, is Naturia White Oak. Although White Oak's effect is, when it's targeted by a card effect, you can, bring out two different Naturias. A lot of the times, your opponents then, they won't use their Dimensional Prisons on it. They won't use Bottomless Trapple. They won't use any of that type of stuff. They're gonna wait for one of your other monsters so they can use them on. So you need to take that into account and then know, okay, fine then. I'll just keep hitting you with an 1800 attacker. And if not, they're going to leave it. They won't do anything to them. And then you can bring out Bamboo Shoot. And then before they know it, they're in big trouble. So just because you don't actually get to use their effects often, it doesn't mean that you're not controlling the game and it's not a card worth playing. The other one, you remember, you can use your Naturian Marins like you can a Pot of Avarice. Although you can't get 5 monsters back at one time, it's very rare to me that you will want to, especially if you're trying to bring out Dragonfly. You can bring back 2, draw a card, and that's great, but also it'll help keep some food in there for Dragonfly, or you can add it, but this is your Pot of Avarice, so to me, if you're running an Avarice, you can take it out and throw in something else, because you can use this to bring your cliffs back, to keep bringing out something and something again. The other one, in regard to cliff and everything, you need to make sure that you're not preventing your own moves. So that means you need to play it smart. If you've got a cliff that you know is face down on the field, if you had a cliff and a Marin, and you're like, what should I do? Don't bring out a Cactus Bouncer, because then Cactus Bouncer will negate even your own special summons, and if they attack into cliff, you can't use its effect, and it was wasted. So at that point, just let them attack through your cliffs, get out all your special summons, and then you can go into your Cactus Bouncers and your other things. You want to use your cards to help you, not hurt you. You just want them to hurt your opponent. Another good one that I have is you need to play this deck like you would maybe a tower defense game. The whole point of the deck, especially the way I run it, is it's not just to simply run a lockdown and stop everything. I like making my opponent, I like subconsciously choosing what my opponents are going to do. So if I've got my White Oak out, and I know that, they're probably not going to use, their Dimensional Prisons on it because it's not going to do them any good, I'll bring out somebody, like a Cliff. They're going to go, oh, fine, I'll just wait till he attacks with Cliff. And then you don't attack with Cliff. You just keep hitting him with 18 and 18, and you run him down with that. And before you know it, they're going to be forced to, make a move on him. And then also, if you can choose what they're going to do, as with Bamboo Shoot, if you know that they can't use spells and traps, and they're going to be focused on running them over, you know what to block. You know how to build your own defense, which is great. You put in your wall of thorns, you put in mirror force, you put in dimensional prison, you put in other things, so that way, they feel that they'll still have a way to win, and they won't. One of the other rules is that when you're planning on adapting your Naturia deck, make sure you recheck all the Naturias for better combinations. So if you think, I want to start running Naturia strawberries, or not Naturia strawberries, Naturia cherries. Naturia cherries isn't that bad of a card, but it might be better if you throw in then a fruit fly, because fruit fly takes your opponent's monsters and they lose 300 attack and defense for each of your face-up Naturia monsters. So if you can bring out up to 2 more cherries, and then if you have something else and you flip them all, they're going to be losing 3, 6, 9, they could be losing up to 1200 attack and defense. So that's when you might run a fruit fly, and for that reason, that's why I don't run a fruit fly in my deck. I don't really focus on swarming too much, but it is, although, a great card, and that's why I do have some of them just in case. And the last rule is one that is very common, I would say, to most other decks. Make sure that before you make any move, you already have your next move planned. So before you bring out your bamboo shoot, don't just think, oh, okay, I'm set, I can wait and to try to. No, you need to have something else. You need to make sure you have your spells and traps set up to protect him. If you're going into Dragonfly, same thing. Although they can use spells and traps, make sure you've got maybe a Dark Bribe to, negate the effect of a trap. Make sure you know if they use Effect Veiler to, hurt his effect, you're going to be able to stop it. You can have other things out. So, that's about it, guys. I'm sorry the video was 7 minutes long, but I really feel like these are some great tips. It was a great way to start the Nature Walk series of videos. And don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. And also, if you have any suggestions for what else you'd like to see with the deck, just leave them in the comments below. Thanks.